From KCRW, this is Here Be Monsters. This episode contains references to violence, death, sex, drugs, and some other things too. If you'd like the full rundown, you can head over to our website, HBMpodcast.com, and look for a little gray box labeled Content Note. Okay, here's the show.
Which includes my new Transformer toy.
Hello, Griff.
My data.
Hello, Ira.
I'm back.
We have to start by introducing ourselves. So you have to say, it's Ira from Griff's speech.
It's Ira from Griff's speech.
Good. And then Griff, you say, it's Griff from Griff's speech.
T-T-P.
Good boy. Well done. I've got a good one. You can also say the name of the podcast. So Ira can say it first. The name is Here Be Monsters.
Here be monsters.
Good. Griffy. Here Be Monsters.
Here be mum.
The podcast about.
I wanted to ask a question.
The podcast about.
The unknown.
We've been doing this show for almost 7 years now. That's almost 100 episodes. So Jeff and I thought that it might be a good time to take a look back and check in with some of our more memorable guests on the show. And also for the last little bit, we've been soliciting you to leave us questions on our voicemail. So you'll hear some of those sprinkled in through here too. All right, let's get back to Luke Eldridge and his boys. We've worked with Luke a few times now, and last year he produced episode 76, Griff's Speech. Here's a clip from that original episode.
I'm worried that if he's a bit different, the people might not be very nice to him. You can read in a language only he understands.
I suppose a lot's happened in Griff's life over the past year since the show. His speech is still his biggest challenge every single day. That's the biggest thing that Griff has to try and overcome. And he'll be starting school really soon, in just a few months. But what's changed for him is that he's found the most fantastic speech therapist to work with. She's able to tune into just how 4-year-old boys are and how you keep their attention. We have all these fun new games and exercises that we do with Griff, and he loves it. He's entertained by it. La.
Yeah.
Daddy pretends to be the naughty baddie coming to get you.
La.
And the only way to stop him is to say La. That's it. Okay, do you want to say bye now, boys?
Goodbye, here be monsters. Goodbye, here be mama. Lots of warm hugs.
So, hi, this is Remy. Sometimes when I'm Remy, I feel like a god. I feel vibrant sense of power and control. Even though I'm in sex work and people think that I should probably feel afraid all the time. I think the last time you heard from me, I had been doing sex work for maybe 8 months, and it was both complicated and beautifully simple. Parts of it I absolutely loved, and other parts of it I didn't like. But yeah, so I've been doing it for about 8 months, and at the time of my recording, I had intended to go independent, so to break off from my agency, and I wanted to have a bit more control over the way that I presented myself. I wanted to have control over my schedule and have a really transparent understanding of when I was working and for how long, and to control the way that I made appointments and the way I interacted with people. I desperately wanted to cut my hair. Frankly, I wanted to cut my hair. I wanted to define my own kind of sexual identity and performance as a sex worker. But when I started trying to do it, holy shit, it is so time consuming. And I just realized, like, oh, I completely underestimated this, and overestimated myself. And I really see now that this is a job, like any part-time job that you pick up for whatever reason. Sometimes you just have to let it go. But you know what? I did it for a year. I worked quite consistently for a year. I had a really great time. I was able to go on a little trip, and pay down some debt. It taught me so much, and I don't regret doing it whatsoever. So, yeah, anyway, Remy out.
You have one new message. First new message from unknown caller.
Hey, I was wondering where you guys come up with all your ideas. Tell me the secret of your ideas.
So this is actually a question that we get quite a bit. Usually we don't get it in such an aggressive tone, but it is a question that we often get. And it's unfortunate because the answer to this is actually not that interesting, at least not most of the time. Most of the stories come from things that Beth and I read, or things that we hear, or sometimes people email us stories. It's really not anything that exciting. I have been experimenting recently, though, with finding stories in a little bit more unusual of a way. And I've been having a lot of conversations with my nephew. My nephew's actually pretty young, and so the things that he's interested in are things that are sometimes really obvious and things that might otherwise kind of go under the radar but are interesting nonetheless. For example, that recent episode that Beth did about hypnosis was actually a conversation that we had.
Oh, amazing.
Also the episode about taxidermy. And even last episode, the episode on the ultrasonic hunting calls of bats. So yeah, there's actually a lot of ways that we find our episodes. Thanks for the call.
Jeff, I just want to say your voice is phenomenal. And we were just wondering, why have you not been doing that much Here Be Monsters? We like the other lady.
And not that we don't appreciate Bethany. We do really love her stuff, but haven't heard much from you lately.
Yeah, we were underneath the stars, tripping on LSD before we started dating. And I think this was one of the main beginning points of us really liking each other. Is we were laying on the ground in the grass out in this crazy in a bluff between two man-made lakes, and we were laying on the ground and we were just listening to your podcast.
We're listening to the episode about the crickets. Anyways, long story short, we miss hearing your voice. So
yeah. So thanks. Bye-bye.
We at Here Be Monsters International Headquarters have heard your request and are proud to introduce our newest, most exciting, most erotic product yet. Jephrodisiac.
Oh, hello there. Who, me?
This topical love ointment is perfect for weed heads trying to get it in under the stars. Just one binaural dab on each ear will give you an ear boner you won't believe.
I got ear boners just thinking about it.
Ladies love it too.
Yeah, ladies love ear boners.
Yeah, ladies love ear boners.
Try it for free at HBM podcast/podcast ? Category equals Jeff Emtman. LSD and mutual crush not included.
Hi, Here Be Monsters. I'm just calling with a question. When I was a kid, there were some girls that lived across the street, and I just remember wanting to be friends with them so badly, and I just really wanted them to like me. They lived, like, at the top of this really tall driveway, and it was Texas, so everyone had pools, and they were, like, draining their pool that day. I just remember all this water was running down this really tall driveway, like, into the gutter in the street, and for, like, whatever reason, I thought that, like, if I drank the gutter water, they would, like, be impressed with me and, like, want to be my friend. And so I remember just, like, you know, kind of bending down and just, like, taking a few sips of this water that's, like, rushing in the gutter and going down to this big drain. I think it was a few days probably after my mom had made spaghetti that night for dinner, and I remember looking at, like, this white spaghetti and just having, like, the worst stomach cramps I've ever had in my life and just feeling so sick. And it turns out I had pinworms from the gutter water.
Message deleted.
Last year, I worked on an episode with a friend of mine named Tariq, who'd come from Pakistan to America to seek asylum. Our conversations turned into an episode called HBM097, Snow on Date Trees, Then on Pines.
I've heard so many things about the US, a free country, land of opportunities, freedom of speech. Like, it was like a dream of mine just to go to the US. You know, I was always eager to come and to meet the Americans and see their life. So this was like a golden opportunity for me.
Right around the time that episode came out, Tariq was preparing to move to his new home in rural Oregon with his fiancée and her family. He had filed his asylum papers, but he was still waiting to get a court date, and so his whole life was in a state of limbo. I recently wrote Tariq online to ask him what had changed, and he immediately sent me back a simple message that read, "Hi Jeff, I'm screwed, my friend. This current administration has ruined my life." He attached a screenshot from an email his lawyer sent. It explained how the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services have recently changed the order in which applications get processed. So Tariq wagers that his hearing date is still another 2 years out, which means that he's still in limbo. He's legally allowed to be in the country, but he can't find much good work, and he can't afford school, and he can't get loans. The wedding that Tariq moved to Oregon for was called off after there was a conflict between him and his fiancée's family, so he moved back to Seattle. I asked Tariq what his next plans are, and he said, "I'll make a movie of my life, or write a book."
Hello, this is Tyler Higgins from episode 52. I believe I was the one who had certain family issues to get off his chest, and how delivering pizza at Papa John's was the way to go in order for me to get into the acting school of my choice.
Yes, this is actually your request. I need to go to this acting school, and I need as much help from Satan as I possibly can. My name is Tyler Higgins. Satan is God, so I already dedicated my soul. So it's only right that everyone prays for me as I can't do this by myself.
I always wanted to be an actor, like I said last time, and I guess dreams do come true if you work hard enough. I had very much highs and lows this past year since we spoke. So yeah, I'm currently unemployed, but then again, that's the kind of the actor's life, right? Meanwhile, I guess I lost a dear friend of mine to a homicide. Yeah, they kind of hit me very hard. But, he actually was one of the people that inspired me to get my ass up and get to New York in the first place. I miss him, but actually I headed out the door so I could actually register for something in Brooklyn right now. I hope that everything's going great with you. Thank you. Take care.
Yes, hi, this is Spencer from Michigan. I have a couple of friends actually that are going through breakups, and me and a few other mutual friends of theirs are sort of creating this network of communication and dialogue with them, and just curious what your guys' thoughts are on male loneliness when it comes to the end of relationships, and how I think men tend to hang on to loss for a little bit longer. There's one side that wants to show like, hey man, I've been there before, and then there's the other side that's like, okay, I just have to kind of sit here and listen. It's certainly becoming more and more difficult to have to repeatedly do that over and over again, and you just wonder, when are your friends going to be okay, and are they going to be the same? That's really all I have. Thank you.
Hi, Spencer. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I worry that I'm going to give you kind of an unsatisfying answer, because I don't really feel uniquely qualified to speak on loneliness of men as a whole. I mean, I can speak a bit from my own experience, and so that's what I'm going to do. When I started this show, I was pretty fresh out of a long relationship, and so it was pretty fresh on my mind for that whole first series of episodes, from episode 1 to 20. Now, the thing that kept me going through that was this really strong desire that I had to learn audio recording and editing. And that desire was actually really the key to me fighting loneliness. It was because it was something that I actually wanted to learn so much that I pushed myself to figure out some really technical things that I still use on the show today. And those moments when I made breakthroughs, when I could understand something new that I couldn't understand before, well, it made my brain squirt out a little bit of whatever that chemical is that makes you feel at peace. And I've learned that kind of internal validation is really important for me to feel good about myself, right? I mean, external validation is important too, as long as it's secondary to what I can generate myself. Again, so for me to move through that period, I had to have something that I wanted, something that was difficult but also attainable. And having a project is a really great motivator for me because it provides me with a sense of momentum and duty. But that's just me, and maybe your friends aren't like me at all. So I want to open up your question here to the advice and experience of others. If you're hearing this and you have some thoughts for Spencer or his friends, please post them as a public comment on our website, on this episode's page. We're at hbmpodcast.com. Thanks for calling, Spencer. I do hope that things turn out the way they need to.
Hi, Here Be Monsters. This is Patty Negri from the Flaming Sword of Truth.
So on the count of 3, with every bit of desire, every bit of passion, every bit of visualization that you can master, in one full ninja mood, you're going to cut through those swords forever and ever and ever. Hold them high. We're going to hear that gong again. On the count of 3, here we go. Your flaming sword of truth. 1, 2, 3.
Swords are still flaming all over the planet. The veil's getting thinner and thinner. More and more unexplainable things are happening. More and more of our deep hidden secrets and situations are coming and rising to the top. So I do suggest that everybody grab out their flaming sword of truth, discover it, find it, get to know it. You can cut through all the crap going on this planet and at least forge yourself a beautiful, beautiful life in betwixt and between. Greetings again from Patty Negri. Exclamation point. Oh no, exclamation point. That is so funny. I am talking like I am texting. I don't know how to talk in real time anymore. Love you guys. Bye. If you want me to re-record this, I will. Bye.
Hey, Here Be Monsters. Got a question for you. Do you think guinea pigs are related to odd-toed ungulates like tapirs, horses, or rhinos? The first horse was about dog size. I think it's like 55 million years ago. And they had 4 toes on the front and 3 toes on the back. And it's been a while since I've owned a guinea pig, but I remember they had 3 toes on the back for sure. And I'm pretty sure they have 4 on the front, which is pretty horse-like to me. So what do you think? Later.
How many toes do you have? What do you know about horses' toes? You guys want some lettuce?
My name's Andrew. I live in the beautiful city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I wanted to ask a question about the show. Here Be Monsters is a show about the unknown, ultimately. Going through the episode catalog, I feel that you've conquered at least a very small part of the unknown. You've also conquered a small part of your fear of the unknown. Now, my question is, now that you've conquered these small parts of your fear, have you become more or less fearful over time? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Andrew, fear never goes away, but it does change. I started the show back when I was 22 years old, and I'd just moved to Colorado. I was far away from my friends and my family, and I was living outside my usual bubble of school for the very first time. Now, earlier I was mentioning to Spencer that I felt lonely back then, and this loneliness that I was feeling was both enabled and augmented by a pretty strong set of fears. I was afraid of strangers, I was afraid of professional failure, dying, losing my vision, being single, and getting mugged. For some reason, I was terrified of getting mugged. But now, it's been almost 7 years, and those fears actually do all persist in some capacity. But I've had a lot more time to address them, both here on this strange podcast and in my fairly unstrange daily life. But yeah, those fears, they really do ebb and flow. And they're affected by seemingly superfluous factors like my sleep and my diet and my exercise. But the thing is that when I get into a good place with all of those 3 things, I've noticed that I get the chance to examine those fears just a little bit more rationally and sometimes move past them just a little bit. Some days, of course, are better than others, but it's incremental, right? Like, I'm less fearful now than I was. Andrew, you seem to have picked up on the fact that this podcast is partly a personal self-help project for me. Despite the stress that it seems to cause me to always be on a deadline, I do think that the self-interested part of HBM is working. I live a pretty good life that I'm thankful for, and so complaining anything past that is pretty frivolous. These last 7 years were harder than the next 7 will be, and I really do credit that to my opportunities to witness fears, loss, rejection, and the unknown, whatever that is. Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, this question, are you still afraid? It actually brings me to another update, a really hard update to give. So last season, I interviewed a close friend of mine. Her name is Erin, for an episode of the podcast. Erin told me about how she survived an eating disorder that nearly killed her and how she'd at last found peace with her body.
I felt like a shell, and someone, as a compliment, said, "You look like a shadow of your former self." And that's exactly how I felt. I felt so hollow.
On June 22nd, 2017, Erin was hit by a truck while crossing the street. She was on her lunch break at work, and it was a hit and run. So it wasn't clear at first whether she would survive, although we were told early on that she had sustained a devastating brain injury. After 3 weeks in a coma and in the intensive care unit, Erin died on July 15th, 2017. and she is the first person that I've ever seen die. Honestly, I don't really know how to talk about it here. I'm sure there will come a time when I have a reflection on Aaron's death. For now, what I can say is that this experience has really shaken me. I didn't know that I thought that I was invincible. Consciously I understood that people die and it's a cycle of life, but I had never experienced it before Aaron. And so, kind of coming to grips with that realization, yeah, it's been really fucking terrifying.
Hey, Bethany and Jeff. This is Jacob. I was in episode 72, Ant God. It's dead, Jeff. My aunt has died. And episode 15, Jacob visits Saturn. I'm feeling light, and the Earth, no longer grounding to me. I start to float away from the Earth. That show, we recorded that 6 years ago. That bike trip I mentioned in the show, I did that. I actually bicycled for 999 days. I circled the Earth twice, and I got way out there. I was out there for a long time, and I got way out there. 1,000 days on a bicycle to the ends of the Earth. When I was biking, I did a leg from Alaska down to the very southern tip of Argentina. And up in Alaska, I would find the North Star, and it would be high in the sky above me. And I would see it up there, and I would notice it, and then I'd go to sleep, and day after day, I would look, and I'd see it, and after months and months, I was down in Southern California. It was my last day before I was going to go into Mexico. Someone had given me some pot, and I didn't want to smuggle it into Mexico, so I was just smoking it all. And that night, I was laying out in the desert, and I looked up, and I found the North Star, and it was no longer up above me. It was much lower towards the horizon. And I realized in that moment that I had bicycled just with my own physical strength. I had taken myself so far that I had moved the stars in the sky. All right, that's my update. Thanks.
Many thanks to Jacob Lumansky. Thank you also to Patty Negri, Tyler Higgins, Mohammed Tariq, Remy Dunn, Luke, Ira, and Griff Eldridge. We've got a list on our website with every episode that we've referenced here for you to listen back on. Find that list at hbmpodcast.com. Thank you also to loving guinea pig parents Frankie Fan and Caleb Fleischer. And finally, thank you to everyone who called in with questions. If you ever have a question or a comment about anything, you can give us a call. We're at 765-374-5263. Also, Jeff wants you to know that he had nothing to do with the writing of the Jephrodisiac section in this episode. It was all the other lady. I'm Bethany Denton, and I produced this episode with editing help from Jeff Emtman. Kristen Lepore is our manager at KCRW, and Nick White is our editor. Music by The Black Spot, Sarah Sell, and Lucky Dragons. Here Be Monsters is part of the Independent Producer Project from KCRW. Thanks for listening. More episodes soon.
You have one message.
Hey, Here Be Monsters. I have some questions I was hoping you could help me answer. So first off, what should I eat next?
3D printed meat made of insect protein.
What do cool, successful adults without very much money do for hobbies? Why is my begonia dying?
Give your begonia menstrual blood. It's what plants crave.
How can I deal with this jerk who's friends with my other friend, so I have to see him around all the time? And finally, is it weird to put an indoor rug on a covered patio? Yes! Thank you. I hope you can help me. Bye.